Hello everyone, I am Dr. Geetanjali Shrivastava from the Department of Commerce at the Bhopal School of Social Sciences. And in today's module, I would be taking the topic banking sector reforms in line with the Narasimham Committee. In today's lecture, the topics which I would be covering is the definition of bank, importance of bank, need for banking reforms, introduction of Narasimham Committee, objectives of the committee, Narasimham Committee 2, which was set up in the year 1998 to basically review the first Narasimham Committee. Then the impact of banking sector reforms in India, and at last the conclusion or the impact of reforms in the Indian economy. Now let us see what is bank. According to the Banking Regulation Act 1949, banking means accepting the deposit of money from the public for the purpose of lending or investment. So basically bank is a financial institution which is accepting the money from the public in the form of the deposits and using all those deposits for the productive activities. Bank is very instrumental in the mobilization of funds from the depositors to the borrowers. The deposit must be repayable on demand or otherwise and withdrawable by check, draft, order or otherwise. So in short, bank is something which is very important for the growth of the country and for the economy. As you can see on your screen, we have different kinds of banks, and all these banks are the commercial banks. These commercial banks reports to the RBI, that is the Reserve Bank of India, our Central Bank of India, which controls and monitors all the commercial banks. Now let us see what reform is. Reform means to improve something by removing or correcting faults or problems. And in the context of banking, in this class we would be discussing how the reforms have been suggested by the committee and the banking reforms has shaped the Indian economy in a better way. As you can see in the chart, reform means defining the root cause, what problem actually the commercial banks were facing, doing the proper research, identifying the problems, submitting the recommendations and suggestions to the RBI, then in consultation with the regulatory bodies verifying the solution works, and at last implementing the solution. Now before discussing the reforms of the bank, let us see how bank is doing their work and why they are important for the growth of the country. The first is banks are the backbone of the economy. As discussed earlier, bank is very important because of the mobilization of the funds from the household, from the corporate sector, from the government and from the foreign investors, and they mobilize all these savings for the borrowers. The borrowers may use these funds for the productive as well as for the consumption activities. So in any way the bank are very instrumental. So that is why for the economic activity it is very important. Then mobilization of funds from depositors to the borrowers, just now we have discussed the same thing. It provides investment, credit and infrastructure. The bank does the credit creation process and that credit is used by the entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs use that fund for the productive activities. This credit facility also enhances the infrastructural facility of the country. With the help of the credit facility of the bank, entrepreneurs can get more funds for their business. The banking institutions helped poor farmers by providing them with credit facilities. Bank account services for businesses, companies and individuals, like by providing the various facilities of the salary account, saving account and collection of money facilities. Because of that, various account services are there by the bank to the businesses, companies and to the individuals. Saving accounts for customers to deposit their money into the bank. loans such as mortgages and personal loan to individuals and businesses. No doubt the personal loan has increased the purchasing power of the customer, and it has boosted the productive activity and also the production of the country, which directly or indirectly also enhanced the employment of the country. And the other important services like locker facility and the collection facility of cash collection facility, check collection facilities of the bank. So, these are the importance of the bank to the country. Now, the next topic is why corrective measures were required by the Indian bank. What actually has happened and what problems were basically faced by the commercial banks, which creates the need for the setting up of this Narasimham Committee. The first is advances to priority sector like agriculture, micro, small and medium enterprises, export credit, education, housing, social infrastructure, renewable energy, etc. has been slow. As we all know that these are the priority sectors where the majority of the people of the country were doing their work, they are engaged in their commercial activities. So, here the commercial banks has to be very careful and they have to provide lot of support to these sectors. So, it was felt that the advances to these priority sectors were very slow. And RBI also releases the guidelines to the commercial bank for the priority sectors. As you can see, we have the agriculture, for the farmer, for the real estate and for the education. Various guidelines have been issued by the central bank. The next problem was the bureaucratic control. The smooth functioning of bank has been hampered by the red tapeism, long delays, lack of initiatives and failure to take the quick decisions. Because the commercial banks lacks in the autonomy and they have to adhere all the rules and regulations of the government of India, as well as lot of bureaucratic control was there, and because of that there was the delay in the decision making process. The next point is losses in rural branches. Most of the rural branches were running at losses because of high overheads and the existence of barter system in most parts of the rural India. And because of that the rural branches were not doing in more profitable condition as compared to the urban branches, and that attracted the focus of the committee. The next is competition with foreign banks. Foreign banks and the smaller private sector banks have registered higher increase in deposits. One reason seems to be that non-nationalized banks offer better customer services. As we all know that the Indian banking sector has been divided into two categories. One is the nationalized bank and second is the private sector banks. And private sector banks, by providing their quick services and better facilities, has attracted many attention to the depositors. So, somewhere there was the tough competition between the private and the public sector banks. Then the political pressure. Nationalized banks often face lots of difficulties due to various political pressures. Such pressures are created in the selection of personnel and grant of loans to particular parties without considering their credit worthiness. Now, what is credit worthiness? Credit worthiness is a process whereby the bank checks that whether a particular person is able to pay back the amount of the loan or not. And that is why when there is a political pressure is there, many of the bankers were forced to grant the loan to some particular parties without checking their credit worthiness. So, because of that, many commercial banks also faced the losses. Now, the next problem was there was a gap between the promise and the performance. The post-nationalization period has seen a widening gap between a promise and the performance. The main reason seems to be the failure of the bank staff to appreciate the new work philosophy and new social objectives. 1991 was the era when the economy was open for the world and the introduction of the computers was also there. So, there was a transition wherein the people who, the senior most people and the new employees were facing the transition period. And because of that, the actual performance, there was a gap between the actual performance and the promised performance. The next is capital adequacy. One way a bank tries to ensure it is protected from bad loans is by setting money as a provision. This money cannot be used for any other purposes, including lending. As a result, bank have lower capital available to use for its various operations, because capital is also the working capital, or the capital is required for the other purposes of for the functioning of the bank. So that is why when you are keeping high provisions or high reserves, that creates the liquidity crunch for the bank for their routine working. Asset quality. The biggest risk to India's bank is the rise in the bad loans. The slowdown in the economy led to rise in bad loans or NPA. These are the loans which are not repaid back by the borrower. They are thus a loss for the bank. So those were the times where the bank has also faced the problem of the NPA, and at the present situation, NPA is the key indicator which actually tells us the financial health of the bank. The next point is the employee and the technology. Public sector banks are seeing more employees retire in those days, and also reluctant to use the computers and the modern technology and the softwares. So younger employees are replacing the elder and more experienced employees. This, however, happens at junior level. As a result, there would be a virtual vacuum at the middle and senior level. Large overdues. The small branches of commercial banks are now faced with a new problem, a large amount of overdues advances to farmers. The decision of the former National Front government to waive all loans to farmers up to the value of 10,000 crores has added to the plight of such banks. So waiver of such loans may create the burden on the bank also. So that is why it is being said that due to the political pressures, political instability, or the bureaucratic control, the bank is not enjoying their autonomy to take their important decisions, and because of that they faces the losses, or they faces the problems. NPA as discussed earlier in the previous point, it is the non-performing asset, it is a bad debt, although NPA also has the 4 types which we are going to discuss in the next lecture. The commercial banks did not have any machinery to ensure that their loans and advances are going into productive use in the larger public interest. Due to a high proportion of NPA or outstanding due to banks from borrowers incurred huge losses that disturbs the capital adequacy ratio also. So what is happening? Large amount of NPAs, large amount of reserves, somewhere creating the liquidity crunch in the financial institutions. The next is competition from non-banking financial institutions. As far as deposit mobilization is concerned, commercial banks have been facing stiff challenges from the NBFCs, such as mutual funds, housing finance corporations, leasing and investment companies. These NBFCs are the non-banking financial institutions. These are not directly into the banking facility. They don't accept the deposits from the public, but they do lend the money to the public. And because of that, the bankings were also having the tough competition from these institutions. All these institutions compete closely, and these NBFIs attracts the depositors by paying the high interest than the commercial banks. I hope the lecture is clear to you all. Thank you so much.